Hi, I'm Kyle on the Secure UX team, and I wanted to talk through this issue about updating and polishing the dependency list table. Just a bit of background is on the software composition analysis team, which is a subgroup of Secure. We've been working on license compliance, and the other things that we work on is dependency scanning and container scanning. A priority has been license compliance, and as we're getting that to a minimal maturity at the project level and introducing at the group level, now shifting our priorities from per product management to the dependency list and dependency scanning. And so this issue aims to just clean up the list a bit. It's gotten a bit cluttered and do some UI polish. So just want to do an overview of a few of the pain points that we see here. This image is here. I'm not going to show the vulnerable component on that, just to not show the vulnerabilities on for security reason for a video, but at first glance when you land here, you see this status column, which is very redundant, and it's for most of the table rows, like a majority of them, when a minority of them have vulnerabilities detected, which would be under this tab right here, vulnerable components. So at first glance, the problem is that the most important thing that we want to surface on the page for the dependencies is the ones that have detected vulnerabilities, and those are being hidden behind a tab and on that actual page behind a collapse. The status is confusing. It's hard to understand what exactly this means. Is it accurate? It's also redundant. It takes up a lot of space. And as we see here, as we added different things, the spacing has kind of made the table some strange spacing and a bit cluttered. And then also, when you do have a vulnerability, you're unable to click it. So these are some of the problems that we wanted to set out and help with this issue. And now let's just jump over to the proposal. Okay, in a separate video and a separate issue on our license list that shows licenses in a very similar way, we use the status badge to show when it's out of compliance. So for consistency, we're proposing that we use the same status badge, except it's not about compliance, it's in this case showing 3 vulnerabilities have been detected. Some other changes to the page is you'll notice that status column is no longer being shown, so the redundant safe is not there, and it's sorted by default by severity. So we've surfaced the ones with severity right to the top instead of hiding it behind a tab. So those are front and center to the user when they land here. The other thing is we've tightened up the table a bit, so it's a bit more readable, using a higher font weight on the component name and adding an icon for the location just to signify that that's the file name. And as we see here, in some cases, licenses can be displayed. This is a cross match from our license scanners. Well, that's why some of them are empty. For longer names, we can use an ellipsis at the beginning. And then the other thing is the version column removed, and we merged it with the component column. And so that helped, these changes helped tighten up the view a bit. And yeah, so that would be the immediate view when you land here. Just want to show this view is when the actual table rows with vulnerabilities is expanded. As we can see here, these are listing the criticality of the 3 vulnerabilities detected with this particular component, and this is the actual vulnerability name. One side note here is that we see a link here for autofix. That's for an upcoming suggested solution feature when there are solutions available and automatic merge requests with the solutions have been made available. It'll also be surfaced on this page. If the user were to click this, it would take them to the merge request with the fixes available. The other problem that was noted earlier is these actual vulnerabilities are not clickable on this page. They are clickable on the vulnerability list and on the security dashboard, whether at the group or project level. And that gives them more information about what the vulnerability is. And then soon in the next milestone release, it would go to the object page, which we'll take a look at. But the other thing I want to mention about this page as a consideration for this proposal is not hiding the vulnerabilities behind this drop-down table row and just displaying them, or excuse me, defaulting the table rows to expanded view by default. This way, there's no additional click needed, and the vulnerabilities are front and center and surface to the top. Okay, so the other aspect that I touched on just now was the actual vulnerability being displayed to be clickable so the user can learn more about it. So let's take a look at that flow. In this case, it is clickable, and they click it, and then that would bring them to the object page. So this would be consistent with our upcoming flow that we'll see on the vulnerability list at the project level in the group dashboard, where the user would click the table row for the vulnerability and then come to the project, the vulnerability object page. From here, they can have a discussion about it, change the status, create issues around it, but also the system will report back what information we know about that. In the future, just as a future consideration down the road, is being able to click the vulnerability and then having a side drawer to show that information. So everything that you see here could be in the side drawer in terms of like making a status, the additional information, the ability to create issues from it. The advantage of this is that you don't have to leave the page, and that you could go from vulnerability to vulnerability, and you could still have the additional information here. Whereas in this flow, if you come to this object page and then you go back, and then you want to go to this one, you go back and forth, back and forth. That's the same problem we'll see in the vulnerability list. So just wanted to surface this as a future consideration to improve that flow. Okay, so that wraps up the proposal. Please let me know if you have any thoughts or feedback, anything we should be thinking about, and yeah, more to come. Thank you for watching.